Hello everyone, very good morning.
Yeah, Ashish, good morning.
Good morning. Joining. Okay, let's wait. Mm, Today we have let me share my screen to you guys. Okay, so right. Any query, guys? Meanwhile, people are joining. All okay? I have uploaded one recent IPython notebook. Forgot actually where, what is the folder name. Let me quickly check. So there is a IPython notebook where the JSON format code was missing, so I updated yesterday. So you can find that updated IPython notebook on that respective folder, in that respective folder. That is called your, let me show you which one I updated. Last modified. Let me check the last modified. I think not this one. Yeah, I did this. Yes, so this one I think, huh? Key operation on data frames. So this file is the old file, so I replaced with the new one. We are looking for that JSON format, right? So this is the file. And today, what we are going to do, module 5. Okay, so next, how many sessions? 1, 2, session 9, session 10, session 11, session 12, session 13, session 14. So till session 14, it is all about databases, guys. Both in terms of relational database and non-relational database. So the motive is here to get you some idea of about the databases. So those who are totally new to it, they will also they will have some idea how this database is. And those who are already aware about the syntaxes of SQL and others, they will learn how to implement this it through Python. That means as a DS guy, you won't be able to have direct access to databases, or you're not supposed to write the query inside the databases. So in that scenario, you implement the databases through Python in your Jupyter notebook or any IDs that you're working. And through that IDs, you communicate with the databases to retrieve or to store the data. That is the aim here to do. So module 5, 6, and module 7. is all about. So module 5 will be your relational databases, that is like SQL, MySQL, Postgre. So those kind of things that will understand some conceptual techniques also. What do you mean by normalization? Okay, what is AC transactions? So these things you need to have some idea before put your hands into this database systems. So that we'll discuss today, and we'll see how to implement these databases through Python. Okay. Okay. So 9:05, I think 15 people are already here. Let's start. Okay. Let's start because we have to close by 11 as you guys have some office work, right? So let's start. So first concept for today is called data modeling. So bit of conceptual thing. Let's try to discuss and understand. So it is that what is data modeling? Data modeling is the process of creating a data model for an information system by designing how the data is organized and used. So data modeling is nothing but, because in today's world, data is like, it's like everywhere. Like even if from your Android TV to Android phone, then your GoPro cameras, everything is now generating data. Now that's why the demand is too high, because we have now started gathering data from every sources, and to organize the data and to store into some environment and retrieve whenever required and draw meaningful insights from them. That is the challenge now. Right? So how the data is organized and used, that is the main challenge here. So when you say data modeling, this means to structure, you have to build a structure for your data. Okay. And inside that is not only enough. After building the structure, you have to define the relationship between different types of data or the data elements that you have inside your data. That's the rules for manipulating and storing the data. And what is the relationship that, so suppose you are not going to store the data in one place, right? That we are going to see. That is the concept of normalization. So when you are going for a relational database management system, that is called your RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. So the name itself suggesting that the database management system has some relationship between the tables and the data inside it. And that's what you are going to do in data modeling. Okay, so once you start to think about data modeling, you need to keep three things in mind. This is a phase by phase concepts. Okay, types of data models, like conceptual data model. So when we say conceptual data model, what does that mean? Conceptual data models represents the high level business concepts and are used to define the scope of the system. We'll understand these things with examples. Okay, so but like, if you see, conceptual means you have to develop the concept to store the data for your business, and mainly they will be created by the business analyst. Okay, and when you are in the conceptual stage, you are not going that much technical, like, or you are not including the technical details over there, just the overall structure of your database, that what you are going to do or how you are going to do, or what type of tables that you want to create. Okay, that is the first stage, when you don't include any technical details over there. Okay, now the next stage is logical. So once you build the databases conceptually, okay, that means you have an overall idea how your database is going to look like, then logical relationship you have to define inside the database. So logical data models are more detailed than conceptual models, which is because this is the next step or next stage, and describe the structure of the data in a way that can be implemented in a database. That means which type of tables that you want to create, and in that tables, what data you are going to store, which type of data you are going to store, what is the data types, you have to define that. Okay, like this table will contain only integer, this table only contain the names, like that, just for example. And the relationship, this table is having a a relationship with this table, and we can retrieve the details, these details, by using table 1 and table 2, like that. This is a logical thinking. Now, in the next step, physical models. In the physical models, you are actually going to implement the database with technical details, that what you thought till now through conceptual and logical models. In physical model, you are going to implement this. Okay, so those who are totally new to the DB system, okay, there is some concept called primary keys, foreign keys, okay, indexes, okay, types of data that you are going to create, that you are going to define inside your databases. So better to see some examples to understand this feature, right? So
And like, Ashish, sorry to cut you off. Like, can you please give an overall idea about like what is data modeling with an example so that it will be easy? Like, data model, like as per my understanding till now, data model is help us to design the database in such a way it should look like this, it should look like that.
Correct, right. So this is it. Like, let's understand with some examples. Okay, so started. So that's why I have few examples to make you understand what is the conceptual. Okay, so first let's try to understand. A company creates a conceptual data model for a customer relationship management system, CRM. So when you develop a conceptual data model for this, what should it include? It includes entities such as customers, orders. So you're just structuring the model, that what you are going to store inside this CRM system. That means customer details, order details, product details. So these you are defining in your conceptual stage. So these details I am going to store inside my CRM system. Now, what is a physical model? Sorry, what is a logical model? A designer creates a logical model for suppose for a social media platform like Facebook, Insta, or any kind of social media. So here you are defining the set of rules that includes entities such as users, their posts, their comments, how many likes they can do, what is the maximum number of posts they can, post in social media. The relationship between, that means like a user can make multiple posts. User can't like a post 2 times, only single times. So those rules and the relationship between them. This you design in which step? Your logical, conceptual logical. Now what is, we have more example, guys. Okay, please don't worry. If you still are trying to correlate this, we have more example. So let's take a physical data model example. Suppose a database administrator create a physical data model. Now, who is a database administrator? Have you heard about this term DBA before?
DBA.
DBA, database administrator. So a database administrator is having some privileged access into the databases. Like he can create new databases. He can modify the structure of this existing databases. So DBA, so there are a couple of roles also. If you go for the, some MNCs and other companies, they have specific roles for DBA. So DBA is responsible to access the whole databases with some access is given to DBA, that he can modify the details, because not everyone can do that. Because if you go for
like if some files were deleted from our system, they can able to retrieve it from the database, right? Like from the backend.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Now, to give you one real life example, which like from my previous organization, how this works when the company is a too big company and you are supporting or maintaining or having some access for any particular DB, you can't directly change any data inside the DB. If it is a large organization, there has some process to do it. So you have to raise the ticket for this. In the ticket, you have to mention, okay, I'm going to modify this table. Then you have to give the reason why you have to modify the table. What is the logic? Why you are modifying? Why you are changing something in production? Because these are production system. Direct customers are accessing and storing the data from here. So to change something in the production system, you have to take so many approvals, raise ticket, then that ticket will go to the manager, will approve the changes, because this is production. Anything you need to change, you have to inform the business that I am going to change this inside, even if the small changes, even if you are going to rename the column in the table also, that also you need to do like in this way. So a DBA will change all these things because he has some privileged access. And at last, a day will be finalized where this change will be implemented in the production system. This is how it works in a MNC or in a big companies. Okay, so a DBA create a physical data model for financial system that includes tables for transaction, one table for transaction, one table for accounts. Okay, and you define which are the primary keys and which are the foreign keys, which is a bit technical details that we are going to see. Okay, when we see joining operation in databases, we'll see what is the role of primary keys and foreign keys. Okay, let's try to understand with some more example. What is that? Let's take a particular example and see the stages over there, how the conceptual model and logical and physical model develops. Suppose you are designing a database for a library. Can you tell me what can be the conceptual data model in this scenario? Databases for library. So in conceptual, what we do? We have to have an overall view that what we are going to store. So a conceptual data model for the system might include entities such as you are thinking in your mind, or you are structuring like I'm going to store book information, the author information, who is going to borrow the books, those person's information, and the relationship between these entities such as authors write the book, okay, borrower borrows the book. Like this, the conceptual thing you will define in this data model. The model would not include any specific details about how the database will be implemented, but rather than it will provide an overall understanding of the structure of the database. Overall, like I'm going to store book, author, borrowers, like in author information, those who wrote the book, those who writes the book, I'm going to store their information like that. Now in this scenario, what is logical data model? A logical data model might include more specific details about the data that will be stored in each entity, such as attributes of a book, like what you are going to store in book information, like title of the book you are going to store. Are you seeing the differences here? Here you defined overall. Now you are going bit detail in deep. So what you are going to store inside the book information, title of the book, author of the book. This is what is this ISBN for a book? Anyone knows? So this is a number, international standard.
It's a number, sir, standard.
Yeah, what is that? Barcode. Every book has a barcode, right? So those information. So this is where you decided in the logical data model. And a book can have multiple authors. A borrower can book multiple books. A borrower can borrow multiple books. So this relationship you are going to define inside logical data model. This model would be used to design the database in such a way that it meets the business requirements and follows the rules of target DBMS. DBMS means database management system. Okay, so we are going to see RDBMS, relational database.
Sir, is there a difference between DBA and DBMS?
So DBA means database administrator. It is a person.
Okay.
DBMS is just like a management system. Like suppose you are designing all these things and you are defining the relationship. We'll see how we are defining the relationship in just a few minutes.
Okay.
This is called RDBMS. That means relational management system. So these first two sessions, today and tomorrow, will be on RDBMS. And there is a concept of non-RDBMS, that is no relational database system, which is called MongoDB. We'll see how these two are different. Okay. Now in the logical data model step, we do like this, right? Now in this context, what is the physical data model? A physical data model might include details about the specific tables and columns that will be created in the database, as well as information about the primary keys. Like if title, author information, ISBN information you are going to store, what is going to be your primary key? Primary key means a centralized column on which every other columns will be dependent. That means consider in the table, it will be the head of the table. Okay, like a head of the family, like that. Primary keys will be the head column in that table on which other columns will directly depend. That means if we'll take the primary key name, we can get a row details, complete row details. Foreign key. When I say RDBMS, that means relational database management system. That means one table can have relationship with other table. Now that relationship in technical terms, when we are saying this relationship, that is easy. But when you write code, it is not that easy. So while writing the code, when you need to define the relationship, you are going to use this primary key and foreign key to join two tables or to retrieve details from multiple tables. You have 5 tables. One is storing order details, one is storing your sales details, one is storing your product details. So suppose at last you want to gather the information from all these 3 tables. Then how you are going to do? Using this foreign key and primary key, you are going to join the tables and retrieve the details that you need. And as part of the DS guy work, all time will be spent on manipulating the data and pre-processing the data. So because we are not aiming for a DBA role here, we are not going for maintenance of DB and all this structure creation. As a data scientist, your job is to retrieve the details and then analyze, do your analysis, get some insights from the data, and train a model. Okay. Now this is called 3 stages of your data modeling. Okay. Now there is a concept of normalization. Once you decided all these steps.
Ashish, can you please, like say this again, that physical, like it's.
What you say what you understood till now, then I'll add to that.
Okay. So, like when it comes to conceptual, it's kind of a I'm just comparing this to an Excel. Like if the a conceptual data model is something which will says the information about only the columns. Like okay, if the book, author, borrower, this kind of a things will be there. There is no intended information about it. Like who's the author, what is the book name, what is this book is all about. These things will not be in there.
Right.
And in the logical
like a overall
DBMS,
view, like
okay.
I'm going to store book details, nothing else. I'm just thinking in the mind, I'm going to store the book details, I'm going to store the author details, I'm going to store the borrower details, this much.
Okay.
So what you said, it is aligned.
Okay. So if it is in a logical database, we'll have more information about it. Like in if in conceptual, we'll have only the book name, but in here we'll have the book number, the authors, like if there is a 2 or 3 authors, that authors names, if the person was borrowing a book, like he borrowed any other books like that.
So
that is
okay,
fine.
I'll add more. I'll add some more lines. So here you define what details. Like you can say this is a set. Okay, book is the set that you are defining, and in logical model you are defining the subsets. Like inside books, what you are going to store, like title, like details, what you are going to store, author of that book. Okay, then another table you are going to create for borrowers, where it will contain borrower names, age, date of borrowing the book. So this you are thinking, still you have not implemented it. This is now in the stage of logical data modeling. You are defining what details you are. So here the overall view, books, authors, and borrowers I am going to store. Okay, the next is,
so is that the book, author, and borrower, these are the 3 different databases or a single database?
No, single databases. I'm creating talking about a single database.
Okay.
So inside one database, you are going to store these details.
That book
Okay.
number and all those.
Yes, yes. So how the structure is, it is a database, that inside a database you have what? Tables.
Yeah.
And in the tables, you are going to define what is the number of rows and what is the number of columns.
That we
So
can do with a logical data model.
correct, correct. So in this
Okay.
case, you are defining the table names, but you are not going inside the table, just the table names: book table, author table, borrowed table. Here, logical, you need to define what you are going to, what is the columns of the table: title column, author column, ISBN column. Like this, you have to define your table columns and the structure of the table. Okay, and then if you go bit more technical details, like which column I am going to make as the primary key. Okay, which column I am going to make as the foreign keys. Okay, and how the data is related from one table to another, because this foreign keys and primary key will decide which table is having relationship with which other tables. This is happening inside one database. Now it is clear, making sense?
Yeah, like these two was fine. Even for that physical, it is all about. It will help us to identify, or else it is a overall control of database or what?
Correct.
Like this physical database
So
was confusing.
think like this. Think like this. In logical, and I'm not sure whether like you'll get it, but yeah, let's try to think like this: conceptual data model and logical data model. You are saying to someone, you are saying that you will do this work. That is a different thing. But when you actually do that work practically, that is a different thing. So in physical data model, you will implement it practically. Okay, so that means you create this and define this column will be, so what I was talking about, I will define the relationship primary key, secondary key. In this model, physical data model, you tell this column is my primary key and you implemented that.
Okay, so like this conceptual and logical is a documentation kind of a purpose. Like it'll help for the documentation, and physical is the implementation process.
Correct. So that's why in
Okay.
conceptual data modeling, it is the job of what? A
Business
business
analyst.
analyst.
Okay.
Because he is not going to write code inside the DB, right? So he will just define the relationship, but the actual work will be done in the physical data modeling. Okay, and you will create a technical structure of your database. Like I have 10 tables, and table 1 is having relationship with table 8. Suppose, for example. So this diagram also will technical diagram of relationship you are going to implement in physical data model. Right? Now making sense?
Yeah. So this is the main phase of a database. Like these two were documentations.
Right. Now, concept of normalization need to be followed when you go for a RDBMS. That means relational database management system. The normalization concept here. Okay. Now, what is the normalization concept? Data normalization is the process of organizing a database in a way that reduces the redundancy and dependency. So when you say redundancy and dependency, what does this mean? That means you have to create the tables in such a way that it should not be dependent inside the table with other columns. Like it have, like I say, primary key, right? Inside a table, there should be a primary key. Now the primary key should be the head of the head column in that whole table, on which every other columns will be dependent. Apart from primary key, no other columns should be dependent with each other, because that will violate the normalization concept. In normalization, you have to reduce the dependency of one column to the other column unless it is a primary key column. Okay, let's try to, I will see with examples. Okay, so 3 types of normalizations are there. It is a technique used to design efficient databases by minimizing the amount of redundant data and ensuring that the data is stored in a logical and organized way. You need to make sure that you are not repeating the data while storing in other data tables. You have to make, like, for example, we'll see that. So normalization commonly follows three types of normalization. First normal form, second normal form, and third normal form. So when you are going to design a database, relational database management system, you have to go through these three forms: first normal form, second normal form, and third normal form. So in every form, you need to check certain rules while defining the tables. Okay, if those rules are satisfied, then you can say that my table is now normalized. Okay, so we are going deeper now. Okay, we understood what we are going to build, how we are building. Now these are deeper, like normalization of the tables. Now what is first normal form? Okay, so don't worry, I have already created the tables for you in the markdown cells. Okay, so here we'll see exactly what is happening. Now, what is the properties of first normal? Each column must contain a single value, which is being violated by this first table. Why? Can you see? Each column must contain a single value. So is the first table containing single value for each column?
Two phone numbers is there.
Right. So this is what you can't store the details like comma, comma, then comma, and store multiple. So this is how you need to make sure you satisfy the form, normal form, first normal form. The column must contain a single value, which is getting violated in this scenario. You, in the phone numbers, you contain two phone numbers for the same person. That means what? So every row should be unique. Okay, it should not contain multiple data. There should not be any repeating groups of data within the table. There should not be any null values. There should be a unique identifier for each row. That means this primary key. So customer ID is the primary key in this table. That means this is the unique identifier in the table, and all the rows inside the table, you are going to get the details through this primary key or unique identifier. Now, if all these conditions satisfy, then this is called your first normal form. Now, this table doesn't satisfy first normal form. So how to make it first normal? This is the second table is the answer to that. Can you see what we did? We broke this phone number into other rows. Now, can you see the second table is getting satisfied with all the conditions? Each column must contain a single value. That is true. There should not be any repeating groups of data. No repeating data. Yeah. And there is no null. And there is a unique identifier for every row. That is called customer ID. That's customer ID. So now when you make a table to first normal, from this table to this is how you need to make it.
John Smith, there is a two names where there, right? Look, it won't be considered as a repeating data, right?
See, this belongs to your aim is your data should be directly dependent to your primary key. Now, John Smith two times, but what is their primary key?
One.
Customer IDs.
Customer ID 1. So this is that means both the records belongs to one only. Right?
One. Get it.
Okay, so this is not a 2 into now, but you store the data in an organized way.
Cool. Okay.
Okay, so this is called your first normal form. Easy. Okay. Now let's go to the second normal form. So this is an example of second normal form. The first condition for the second normal form is it should be satisfy the first normal form. That those conditions in first normal form need to be satisfied in second normal form. That is the first condition. That means it should be a unique identifier, no null values, no repetitive values, no multiple values, everything satisfied. Then once that is satisfied, you will go for second normal form. Now in the second normal form, what you need to understand here, there should not be any partial dependencies. Now, when I say partial dependencies, this partial dependency is related to your primary key. So when I said you need to define a table, I said a head of the family, right? So in one table, there should be only one head of the table, that is your primary key. So when I take the primary key, suppose employee ID 1, this whole row should belongs to this primary key employee ID 1. There should not be any other IDs who is not defining the relationship with employee ID, or which is that column is violating the relationship to this employee ID. For example, here, if you see what happened, this is my table, which satisfies first normal form, this table, but it doesn't satisfy second normal form, the first table. Why is that? Because if you see here, there is a column called department ID and department name. Now, can you tell me what is the relationship between these two columns, department ID and department name?
That says the department 1 is marketing and department 2 is sales. So it is interrelated. Like if we say the department 1, then it is showing the marketing. Yeah.
And department 2. So that means department ID and department name are two closely related friends, right? But it doesn't have any relationship with this department ID. Is not having any direct relationship with employee ID, isn't it? This is because of department name we made 122. It doesn't have any direct relationship with the head of the table, that is the primary key. So when this kind of situation occurs, when the head of the table, the primary key column is having a column which is having not a directory relationship, it is a partial relationship, right? That means employee department ID 1 belongs to marketing, which is contained by this first row. Now, can you tell me, is it okay to say my department ID is having a partial relationship with employee ID, not direct relationship?
Yes.
And with whom it is having direct relationship? The department name column. Because whenever we're going to use marketing, that is 1. When you're going to use sales, that is 2. So direct relationship with department name column, but partially relationship with the primary column, which is employee ID. So now this is the example of what? The partial dependencies. With whom? Of one column with the head of the table or the primary key of the table. So when you say primary key, it should be unique and all other columns should be directly dependent to this primary key. But here this column, department ID, is not directly dependent on employee ID. It depends on department name first, then department name depends on employee ID. So there is a partial relationship between whom? Department ID and employee ID. So this we need to remove because this violates the normalization rules. Okay. Now, how to mitigate this? So to do a second normal form, so when you find out there is a partial relationship inside your table while defining the table structure, you have to break these tables into two other tables. What? You are going to make what? Two tables. One is called your employee table. One is called your department table. Now, can you see what details you are going to store in each table? And can you tell me whether this is first normal form is satisfied and second normal form is satisfied? Or you have any other understanding?
Yeah, it satisfies both the employee table.
Right. So that means I removed this two part and broke into another table that is called department table. Now this table is containing the IDs and the name. And in this table, so here every row, for every row and each column is having the direct relationship with the primary key called employee ID. Now, when you see two ID columns, you should be understand, it will come as per your experience on your started, spending time on DBs, when you see two columns with IDs, so one of them should be primary key, one of them should be foreign key. Now this employee ID is the primary key and the department ID is a foreign key. Why I'm saying this is a foreign key? Because there is another table which contains detailed information about these IDs. Which table is that? Department table. Now suppose I want to know the department name of employee Bob Johnson. How will I do that? Then to get the information, this joining concept will come into picture. Because if you look for the data, so my question is what? What is the department name of employee name equal to Bob Johnson? In this table, we won't be able to get that. Because in this table, what we'll get? Department ID only. Now this column and this column in the department table both are same. Now in this table, what is the primary key? Department ID. But the same department ID is the foreign key inside what? Employee table. So if I want to know the employee, the department name of the employee name equal to Bob Johnson, I have to join these two tables. What is going to be common between these two tables? Which column?
Department ID.
So that's why this column is having a foreign relationship with this table. And once you join these two tables, you can get the answer as department ID 2 means sales. So that means you write a query to tell you in the output that employee name Bob Johnson belongs to sales department.
So we'll create inner joins.
Right. So there is a couple of joins concept are also there. We'll see how the joins concepts are there. Inner join, outer join, left join, right join, cross join. So many kinds of joins are there. We'll see. Now this is all about second normal form, guys. Now there is another bit more step here. Okay, another more step, and here it will take some time to digest the things. So first of all, what is the condition? It should satisfy the second normal form. That means first normal form plus second normal form. Once that is satisfied, then the third point is here. There is no transitive functional dependency. So now to understand this transitive functional dependency, you have to have some domain knowledge. When I say domain knowledge, what does that mean? You have to understand your business first. Then only you will understand the transitive functional dependency. Because inside, for example, this is my employee table. Now, can you tell me whether this satisfies all first normal, second normal form? Is there any partial dependency?
No.
No, right? But there is a term called transitive functional dependency here. Let's try to understand. So as I said, to understand transitive functional dependency, you have to understand what? The domain first. So here, this is my domain. What is my domain? Employee details I am storing. And there I am storing first name, last name, department of that employee, manager of the employee, and the salary of that employee. These details we are storing. If you read this, okay, with me, if we were to examine the relationship between the non-key attributes, we might notice that there is a transitive functional dependency between the department, manager, and salary attribute. And what does that mean? So there is a functional dependency, transitive functional dependency between department, manager, and salary attribute. How? In other words, the salary attribute is dependent on the department and manager attribute. The salary attribute is dependent on what? Department and manager attribute. How? For example, if we know that an employee is in the marketing department and their manager is Bob, if we know these two details, marketing department and the manager is Bob, we will definitely able to say the salary of that person. Is it correct to say that if I know that, consider these last 3 columns, if I know the details about these 2 columns, can I say directly that I need not to say the salary here, or I can directly say this is the salary? Can I say that? By knowing the manager and department name, I can say the salary here. Try to think, okay? So if we know the department name is marketing and manager of that department is Bob, because Bob is a manager to multiple departments, right? For the sales also, Bob is the manager. But when Bob is the manager and the department is marketing, $50,000 is the salary that I can say. Now, this will create some violation here. What violation? Head of the table, right? Now the position of head of the table is not defining here. Without, by seeing this 2 column, I can say about the salary column, isn't it?
But for each and every people, the salary will be different, right? Like for marketing, like in organization, the salaries will be different, right? Based on their experience, based on their skills, the salaries will be like different, right? How can we say that it was violating? And we can't normalize that, like for marketing, you will get 50,000 each, like who all are joining in.
See, that is a different concept. That is a recruitment process, right? That is a different thing. But I am saying in this particular table, can I, knowing the first name, can I tell the salary of the person?
No.
Ashish, here one more doubt I'm getting. Say like Bob is like a manager for multiple departments, but he will get only one salary, right?
Yes, but it will directly related to the department. If the department is marketing, then the salary is fixed, $50,000. If the department is sales, then the salary is fixed, that is $40,000.
I get that, Ashish, but he's going to get salary one time only, right? Because he's in 2 departments, will not get 2 times.
So that is the salary for the other person, no? First name. The manager of that person is Bob. Like that, right, Ashish?
Correct, correct. So when you say sales, this is a different person, Jane Doe. Here, this is John Smith. So that's why initially I said, no, you have to have some, as you guys tell, different scenarios. So this depends on the scenarios. What you're thinking as a transitive functional dependency. The functional dependency within your domain that you understand. So for example, if an individual person will take, based on the department and manager, their salary is defined. It is as per the domain knowledge. If we know the department and manager, we can directly say the salary. For my department, I'm not talking about the overall scenario here. Just for example, we are considering.
Ashish, but in the last column, like for Sarah, it's a $70,000. Right?
Yeah.
So there is no manager there. So is it the same manager for the management? Like Sarah is a manager for the.
So that means this person doesn't have a manager. Just
Okay, but
he is inside the department.
okay.
So that means for this particular person, by looking into the department, and if he is from management and he doesn't have the manager, then his salary is 70,000, bit more. But the persons with in the same department with under the manager Sarah, his salary is 60,000. Making sense?
Yes, sir. But it creates a like void place, like null place, null void.
So here, like this is violating what? First normal condition, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what we are going to do to mitigate this functional dependency, which means no rows can be, so the salary row can't be directly said by the primary key, because that by using the department and manager name here, you can directly say no direct relationship with the employee ID here. So that's what the point is here. So in your scenario, if few columns is having no direct relationship with your primary key, there can be a partial dependency or functional dependency. That is the point here we're discussing, and not this particular example. So you should not be having any dependency between your columns. So the point is here, these 3 columns are dependent now. Now to mitigate this dependency, what we need to do, we have to break these tables again. Now what we are going to create? An employee table, which will create a department ID and manager ID. So if you want to give it, you can give 0 here. Manager ID is 0. That means no manager. And you can define this relationship over here. Now you can see what I did. I removed the department name and manager name. Instead of that, I put what? Department ID and manager ID. And I made 2 other tables called department table and manager table, which will contains the department ID along with the department name, manager table with manager ID and manager name.
So in the beginning, you have said that we have to reduce the dependencies. Like if it is a 3 to 4 columns, the first column should depend on the tag and so it will be increase the dependency.
Which column will increase the dependency?
Like if you are splitting that employee table into 3 tables, like employee table, department table, and manager. It will increase the dependency of the tables, right? The first table should depend on
right. Nice question. Okay, so I'll recap my statement again. I'll revise that. So when I say dependency, you have to reduce the dependency to the head of the table. That should not be any other column which will violate the dependency conditions for primary key. Every row, every column should be directly related to primary key. No other dependency in that table, not for other tables, I said. In that table, the columns.
Okay, within the table, it should not depend any other
dependent,
things.
right? Exactly.
The primary key should be the head of it.
Correct. Because this is going to be efficient way to whenever so unnecessary you are going to store other information. Instead of that, create 3 table, store the respective information, and whenever you need, suppose I need the department name of employee ID 4, then which 2 table I'm going to join? Department for employee ID 4, tell me the department name.
It will be the department table.
Department table. So you are not going to put your hands on manager table, right?
Yeah.
So manager table is now safe. If you need along with the department name, tell me the manager name, then again you consider this manager table. So by breaking into multiple tables here, unnecessary retrieval of information is not there. Where what is required, you are going to get that. Not all the things. Now, can you tell me which are the primary keys and which are the foreign keys here in the employee table?
Employee will be the primary.
And department ID,
manager ID will be the
managers.
Foreign key. So that means foreign key means there is some foreign table, like these tables are the foreign. So like using these IDs, you are going to get the details from here. Now, this is one example of relational database management system. Because how? Because this table is having some relationship with this table and this table. This is acceptable. Table relationship. That is relational database management system. But there should not be any dependency inside the table. And that's why we're following the normalization concept here. Now, when we study about no relational, these things is not going to be there. No relation. Each system has their own advantages and disadvantages, guys. We'll discuss that.
Okay, so the what I've said, like the salary things will be different. We can use that, like we can use MongoDB on that situations, right?
Yeah, but there is some situations. Okay, let me tell you. Okay, let me clarify this out. So when to use relation? So this is a relational database because this table is having relationship with this table, right? No relation means you need not to define this table structure. You need not to define the primary key, foreign key. You need not to define how many tables, those things. Now this sounds good, right? Easier. But this retrieval is an organized way for the fixed type of data. When I said fixed type of data, that means static kind of data. If your organization using static kind of data, that means like banking sectors, your customer management system.
Structured data like that.
Correct. Structured. So if your organization using the data, structured data, correct. Very rightly said that word, structured. So that's why the language is called what? SQL. SQL means
Structured query language.
Query language. So the data which are structured, you are defining some language to query or to retrieve the details from the database. Now, when you have running a business where the data is dynamic, no structured, okay, random. Like, for example, can you give some examples of on random or unstructured data?
Unstructured. Even salaries also will be structured, right? Okay.
So
The social media data or videos.
Right. Correct. When you are storing the data in a form of table, rows and columns, that is called your structured. Okay. When you don't store the data in a form of columns, primary key, this is the row, not like that. Like social media data, or you can say your e-commerce website data. So those data are not structured. You are selling products on e-commerce website. There are multiple products, multiple sizes with multiple prices. So those data is also going to vary day by day. This is dynamic data. So when your data is dynamic, then this doesn't make sense to use this organized or structured data, right? Because tomorrow you need to add one more column for that. I pushed a product with another flavor, then I am going to add inside my data set. You have already defined the number of columns here, right? So that will be very difficult to add new features and everything in the database. So in that scenario, when the data is dynamic, there you are going to use the non-relational database management system or no schema. We'll see what is schema also. This is also. So here the next concept is star schema. So what do we mean by schema?
It's kind of in structure or a formula like that.
Best way to gather knowledge these days, guys, is to search a image search, do a image search. So this is called a technical representation of a plan or theory in the form of outline or model. That means what? A structural diagram. So I think.
Can we call it as a blueprint then? Like in a way.
Exactly. In a way, you can say the blueprint. So what I can say, so many figures are there with different things. Yeah, this kind of thing. Yeah, this kind of thing. What is this? So let's suppose you are defining a database and these are your tables and you're defining the relationship between the table. Which table contains foreign key, which table table contains that foreign key of other tables. Okay, like this you are structuring the data and you are defining with an arrow, this table is having a relationship with this table is. So in a RDB BMS, relational database management system, you have to do this before you start to build your database. Because this will give you a picture how you are going to organize your data, in which table you are organize the data. This is you have to do pre-hand or before you start implementing the database. So this is an example of schema, diagram, or a blueprint of your data model. Okay, now there is a concept or there is a term called star schema. And the name itself, like as you understood what is schema, now what do we mean by star schema? When this structure will appear like a star. Okay, so we, in a simple word, when this relationship, if you'll see this picture and it looks like a star, that is called star schema. And when that is possible? The star schema is a type of database schema that is used to organize a database in a way that allows for first querying of data. Because this is your ultimate aim, guys. You have to structure or organize in your data in such a way that whenever you are retrieving, the retrieval time should be very less. Because if you go to the real world scenario, if you run a query inside the database, it will hamper other processes also. I'm talking about in my previous organization, I was using your SQL Server database, and that is actually that is a multinational bank database. Millions of transactions happen every day. Even if you run a select statement there, you have to think twice because it will make this database or the server slower. And if this is slower, then multiple developers are querying from that same database. Users' data are getting stored in the database. Those processes will be delayed. It is going to hamper your production things. Okay. So that's why the ultimate aim is to structure or organize in such a way that it will be fast querying thing. When you retrieve the data, store the data, it will take less time. Star schema helps in that, get a fast querying thing. It is called star schema because the data is organized into a central table. That means consider a midpoint of a star, and that midpoint is called a central table. That in the midpoint place a table, and that table will be central table. This is called fact table. And with a number of dimension tables arranged around it, forming a shape of star. Like, for example, if you see here, for example, cells fact table is a single table, and I have, so in star schema, two things are there: fact table and dimension table. I'll use the pen bit here. So this will look something like this. So there is a centralized table here, and other tables are, surrounded to it. This is called dimension table, like this. And you have a, relationship with the fact table and the dimension table. I am not sure whether it looks like a star to you or not, but this is what the concept is. Okay, a fact table should be in between, and you have to draw the structure like this. The dimension table, which will be around of this table. So sales fact, date dimension, store dimension, product dimension, customer dimension. These are the dimension tables surrounded to this fact table. Yeah.
So how can we access this data if it isn't dimension these kind of different types of tables? How can we access it? So
the concept of that foreign key and primary key. You are asking how to access the data from this table.
Yeah. Yes. Like if it is a normal table, we will calculate this other comment is not rows and column. We can differentiate. Like if it is these kinds of table, how can we access the data? Correct.
I got the question. So we'll see that through code how to do that. But before that, I'll tell you when we can you recollect the third normalization form? What we did? We break one table to three table, right?
Yeah.
Now place this first table in the middle and place the other two tables like this, here and here. And we know the relationship between these two tables through what? Foreign key. There's a foreign key in here and here also. So whenever necessary to get the details from these two tables, we'll use those foreign key and primary key to get the details. We'll see with example how to do that. We'll see. No reason. So let's see the example, guys. Let's just see the example. So now see, just give me 1 minute, 1 second, guys. This is a sales fact, or it is the main table or the center table. That is called fact table. Can you see what it is having? It is having multiple IDs like date ID, store ID, sale ID, product ID, customer ID, quantity, sales amount. And what are the dimension table here? Respective to each ID, there should be one table which contains more details about it. Now date dimension table. So what are the dimension table here? Date dimension table, store dimension table. That means each ID from this main table or the center table is having a sub table containing more information about that particular column. So suppose I'm talking about date ID. The date dimension table contains this date ID along with other details, calendar date, day of the week, month, year. So how you are going to retrieve the information from this two table? By this date ID column, because this is called your what? Foreign key here. So this foreign key in the sales fact table is a primary key in the date dimension table. And by joining this key, you can get, suppose someone will ask me, give me the date when you do a sales amount of 50 rupees. When the sale ID is 1, give me the month. Nothing else. I want to know the month when you did a what? 50 rupees transaction with sale ID equal to 1. Now you'll join these two tables and you will look for what? When there is sale ID 1 and the column name is equal to month. And now then you can say, this is how, to answer your question, how to retrieve the details from the table. This is how you're going to return. By joining these two tables with foreign key and get the required column information. Because I don't need a calendar date, day of the week, year, I don't need. I just want the month when you made 50 rupees as sale ID equal to 1. Similarly, the requirement can vary. I want to know the store name also along with that information. Month name and store name. Now to get the store name, where I need to go? Store dimension table. Where the store dimension primary key is a foreign key in the fact table. And if I want to know what is the store ID 1, so I wanted to know what? Month when you made 50 rupees sale for the sale ID 1 and what is the store name. So to know, I will join this column store ID equal to 1 to store dimension table. When store ID equal to 1, what is the name? Store A. I'm not bothering about location here. I just want to know which month, which store you made 50 rupees transaction. Then after this, I will ask which month, which store, and which product you sold. You sold. Then what I'm going to do? I'll include this table which contains product dimension. So in this table, product ID is there, product name is there, product category is there. Because at a time I don't need all the information as per the business requirement or as per your problem that you are solving. What data you need, you come here, see the fact table, see the dimension table, and because we are not going to need all the column details, right? Like specific columns from specific tables. We'll see how we can do this. We need to select only specific columns from that specific tables, not other details. Through which ID? Foreign key and primary key concept. So this is an example of your star schema. If you put fact table in the middle, and this table is going to surround this date dimension, store dimension, product dimension, customer dimension. And customer dimension table containing what? Customer details. Now to query the data, you can join the fact table to the appropriate dimension table using the keys. For example, you could use the store ID field in sales fact table to join to the store dimension table to get the information. Okay. Now, this is what a query looks like in the database, guys. So those who are aware about it, so how many have not encountered any DB queries before, or you have some exposure? So do you guys know this select statement? This is a basic select statement to query some data.
Yeah, have some knowledge about data queries.
So this is also what you need as a DSCAN, nothing more. You have to learn whether it is relational, MongoDB, no relational, anything. How to query the data from the database. I think that is the first step for a data scientist to know. Because that the data scientist is going to spend more time. Now, those who are seeing for the first time, for them, I try to make it easy. So the words with upper cases are the syntax you need to write. So this query, where I need to write? Can I run here and I get the data here? No. This is the query as we are learning Python code in IDs, Python integrated environment, right? So that means SQL, structured query language also need to be implemented or need to be run inside a database environment, not anywhere. So this query is the raw query that you need to write inside a SQL Server database. Okay, so SQL Server database means what you are doing. All the words that is written in uppercase, that is the syntax, like Python. So to print a statement in Python, what we need to write? Print then that statement. So print is the syntax you have to follow. If you don't write print, it is not going to print. Similarly, these are the syntax used in the database, inside the databases. And these uppercases are the syntax you need to write. Now, the thing is, we need to understand the syntax. That is why we're here. We need to understand how this querying inside a database works and how can we implement this in Python environment so that our life will be easier as a DS guy. So select word is a uppercases characters are the syntax. Select. This is a querying example. Let me explain this query. Select, then s dot store name. Can you see? I am writing this query to answer this, okay? This thing. For example, you could use the store ID field in the sales fact table to join the store dimension table. That means this query is an example of joining statement where you are retrieving the details from two tables. Which are the two tables? Sales fact.
Store ID and the
Sales
store ID.
fact. Yeah, so store ID is the column which is common in both the tables. Okay, so if you see, understand here, see store dimension and the fact table. What is the common column between these two tables? Store ID and store ID here. So here is the store ID column. Here is also in the store dimension table. This is also store ID column. Now we are retrieving the details from these two tables using a common column called store ID. So that means if I need to write the syntax in the DB, how many tables I am aiming for? Two tables. And I need to know what? The store name and the sales amount of that particular sale, particular store. What I want? Store name. Can you tell me where I'll find the store name in which table? In fact table or in store dimension table? Store name. Sorry?
Store dimension.
Store dimension.
Store name, right? Yeah, store dimension.
So if I need the store name, then I have to look for the store dimension table. If I need to know the sale amount, I have to go for sales fact table. This is understandable? How these two tables are, occupying different information. If I want the total sale amount, which table I'll refer? The sales fact table. If I want to know the store name, store dimension table I'm going to refer.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the query to join these two tables. How? Understand this. Select the syntax. The column name you want to select. What is the column name which contains store number? Store name. This column is, I am calling from here. Store name. So that select store name column. So this what do we mean by this s dot store name? That means we are retrieving the details from how many tables? Two tables. So you have to tell which table the column belongs to. Are you getting what I'm saying here? So that means I am telling this in the syntax that get the store name from S table. Now why I made this as S? Because I don't want to write the full name of the table. I want to use the abbreviation or the nickname that I am going to give. So I gave the store dimension table's nickname as S, so that whenever necessary, I do not need to write store dimension table as a whole. Instead of that, I'll use S. Where I have given this X, can you try to find it out? I have given the nickname for the store dimension table as S, but I have given in the whole query. Where I have given, can you try to find?
Join store dimension S.
Right. So so this is the syntax, the way of writing the syntax. You can't say like why I have to give a space and write the nickname. This is how they have designed, or they have developed the language, structured query language. So if you see here, forget about this join. I'll tell you. The
Do we need
table.
to assign the name that you are shorting the name? Right? So yes, do we need to assign it, or like you can just try to like?
Yeah, so anything that you can give, it is as per your requirement. So whenever you mention the full name of the table, to right side to that, you can write like this also, Aj S. This is also fine. Aj S means you are giving a alias name. If you don't write Aj S also, that is fine. Give space and give the nickname. So this
Okay,
means
before giving that name, we have to assign it. Yeah?
Right. So see, when I mentioned store dimension table, I gave a nickname called small s. So that means I'm going to use small s. That means this belongs to store. That this means representation of store dimension table. But I have defined inside the query. This is how you need to understand it. Not before or somewhere like you define the variable in Python, right? Before your code. This is not how it works in database. So s dot store name means you have to understand I should be using some nickname called s in between my query, where I have used here when I mentioned the table name. Okay, let's go line by line. S dot store name, that means store dimension, from store dimension table, select the column store name. Then what you need to select? Comma. One thing is done. Second thing is, I want to know what is my aim here. To get the information about the store where the sales occurred, the total sales that occurred for that store. And from where I'll get the sale amount? From the fact table, sale amount. So this fact table containing a column called sale amount, I will go for this column only. Now how to access this particular column? I'll again call this table. I'll give a nickname, and through that nickname, I'll call this column. Same thing I have done here. Forget about this sum. In the bracket, you can see f dot sell amount. That means what? From f table, and where I have given this nickname? Here. Sales fact space f. That means instead of using sales fact every time, you can use f. So quickly I'll summarize. Select what? Store name from S table, that is store dimension table, and sale amount from F table, that is sales fact table. And this is an aggregation function. Or you can say window function. Window function means it will calculate the total sale. Once you select that column for that particular store, it will calculate the total sale made. So this is a question, right? This is a question to the store owner or management, right? What is the total sale you made for this store? So two things I selected: store name from one table, summation of all the sales amount from what? From another table. Now here also I am giving one nickname to whom? To the total sales amount. Now this will, can you tell me what is the return type of this sum of this? Whether this is a single number or it is a list or a list of store names or store amount, what should be?
A single number.
Because this is a summation, right? And I want to showcase that summation in a different column of my search result. Now, if I'll run this query, it will, what is the output of this query? It is a table with rows and columns, the output of this query, which is tell me the table will contain, this is called the search result. So in the search result, you will get the store name, the total sum of that store in a different column. because to store the total sales in the table, we don't have any specific column. So we are creating a different column here. For example, suppose consider this is my search result. Okay, this is not customer dimension table. This is my search result. So I want to know the store name, and the total sales it made. Now total sale is a new column that as part of your search query, right? So store name, anything, store A made $500. So to show this, you have to have a total column here in your screen, right? So this is what it making. Give the sum of the total sale and keep it in a column called what? Total sales. So now in your search result, a new column called total sales will be created, and that will contain what? The sum of the total sale amount. I'm not sure why these lines are, randomized, not straight. I'm trying my best to draw the straight line, but not able to. Okay, now, did you get this first line or any query on this first line?
Get it, sir.
So select this column from this table, sum of this column from this table as total sales. Now, the second line means you have to, so here you have used the nickname, right? Now it is time to define the original name along with the nickname. From which two table? Select this column, I understood. From which table? From, so again, the words with upper cases is the syntax you need to write. Select this and this from this table. If you are joining, then you have to write join with this table. So this means select these details from this table, sales fact table, nickname is F, and join it with store dimension table, whose nickname is S. This three line is covered. Now, how you are joining? On the common column between the two tables. So when you write join, you have to write join this table on this table, and common IDs is F dot store ID equal to S dot store ID. That means F means which table? Sales fact table. Now join this two table on sales fact table store ID column, and this is equal to store dimension store ID column. This is how, this is a SQL statement you need to perform while writing a joining statement or retrieving the details from the two tables. Now forget about the group by as of now. Yeah.
So we are using this query in SQL. So where are these tables? These tables are in the SQL or something.
So yeah, that is also one. So this is for this you need to have an operation knowledge. Operation knowledge in the sense like you need to know how to install a database. So first of all, database is not a small thing. Okay, if you install a SQL server in your system, this will make your system too slow. So that's why people in the larger organization, what they do, they buy a server, new server, cloud server, and any server, Windows server. That in that server they install the database. Suppose Microsoft SQL server. So you buy one server, install the database inside that server, and whenever you want to access the database, you connect to that server through your username and password. And then again, after that, you have to connect to the database also through username and password. Because every database, to connect to a database, you need some authentication to be verified.
Okay, from the cloud storage, we directly import it from the cloud storage while we are using SQL.
Correct. So once you are inside the database, there you need to write this query.
Okay, we have to import the database, right? That is
correct. Right.
Then
so
only we can use this query as to
correct,
get them.
Correct. You need to use this query while being inside a database only. Then only it will try to find out the tables, right? If you are not inside the database, then where it will find the tables? The tables are stored in the database only. Now,
that's what I'm confused. Like
correct.
You were saying directly into SQL before the manual. So
okay,
get it from.
Okay, okay. So when I say directly to SQL, that means the SQL is inside a server and inside a database. Okay, that is now it is clear.
Yeah, that is clear.
Now the thing is, we don't have this privilege right now, or in future also we are not sure whether we are going to have the access to the server or to the database. So now what to do? Now the thing is, you can write this query from your Jupyter notebook itself. Same query, and you can retrieve the details from the database. Once you have the databases installed in the server. When I'm saying databases installed in the server, you have the username, password, and everything about the database. In that case, once you have that details, you can write this query through Python. Now Python is going to help you to connect. So this is what it looks like, guys. Suppose consider this is your laptop, right? Now somewhere here you are using Google Colab or PyCharm or anything. So this is the ID. Okay. And inside your laptop, suppose you paid and you have a paid version of Microsoft SQL system installed. This is my DB. Okay, and I have all the required authentication to log into this database that I'm telling you. Now this query, this whole query need to be written inside what? This DB to get the details. Now we can do same thing while inside our ID or our Jupyter notebook or like PyCharm. From PyCharm, you can directly write this code, which will come to the database and retrieve the details to your ID. Now this is being done because of Python API. So Python will provide you one specific API which will help you to connect from your IDE to your database. So that means you need not to go inside the database and write this query. You can directly write this query here in your IDE using Python API. So when I say Python API, what does that mean? That means the libraries or the modules. Using few of the modules that we are going to see, you can run the SQL queries inside your IDEs, which will be equivalent to run the query inside the DBs. But for that, you have to follow certain, like we saw, right, in Python, what is the syntax. So you have to understand some of the syntax in Python and how to write the same query. Now, if you see here, this SQL query, it will be same if you write in the IDEs. But before this, you have to write some Python command. That's all. So
Okay, we can access this, like use this same query in a like Python or some other IDEs using some Python codes inside.
Correct. So before this query, you have to write some Python code so that this query will be executed directly inside the database.
For that, we don't need any SQL. Directly we can use that IDE.
No, so see, that's why I said this you need to be installed and have required authentication.
Okay, for that particular data.
Yeah. So for this particular databases, if you are using IDs to retrieve the data, you need to make sure the database you already installed in your system. So if you don't install it, then where the information you will get? You have to have a DB and with required authentication. That means you have to know the server details, the authentication password and username of these databases. Then only you will be able to connect through ID, because this is also mandatory, right? The regulatory action also need to be taken care.
Do we have classes separately for SQL?
Yeah. So as I said, like next 4 to 5 classes will be based on the databases only. Okay. So today's session is to make you understand what we are going to do next, and some few rules like normalization, right? And what is this query and how we are going to implement this. So this knowledge you have to have before jumping into the coding section, right? So that's why. Okay, so this is just an example, okay? And there is some other things. This is the last topic for this theoretical thing, okay? Last topic. Then we'll directly jump how to implement this using Python. Okay, don't worry. So here just one more thing, ACID transaction. So when you define any database, you have to make sure this is compliant with ACID transactions. So what we mean by ACID transactions, like in ChatGPT these days, what are the hot topic now? The ChatGPT or the AI is possessing some risks, right? Why? Because regulatory actions are not there. We don't know. So this is kind of a regulatory actions that you are performing while defining the databases. ACID transactions. What does my ACID? A for atomicity, C for consistency, I for isolation, and D for durability. These four should be there if I'm going to use one databases for my business. Suppose I'm running a small startup and I want to implement the database. I should make sure that this is ACID compliant. That means this will satisfy all these conditions, because this will, let's try to understand what is atomicity means. That the transaction is an indivisible unit of work that is either completed in its entirety or not completed at all. That means once the transaction started, either it should complete all the transactions or it will stop. That means, for example, if the transaction is transferring money from one bank account to another, either both the debit and credit account must occur, or neither should occur. It is not like that the money will be debited from my account and it is not reflecting in your account. That should not happen. So this is called atomicity. Once this is debited from my account, then the total amount will be updated in my account, as well as total amount will be updated in your account. If this is the case, then atomicity. If this is not satisfied, then that is fine. Either it should initiate the transaction or not at all. What do you mean by consistency? Transaction leaves the database in a consistent state, meaning that if the transaction was completed, the data in the databases will be accurate and conform to all defined rules, such as constraints, cascades, and triggers. So for simple example is, you can imagine a bank has two accounts A and B, and a customer wants to transfer money from account A to account B. Okay, so atomicity, consistency should be there. What is isolation? For example, if two transactions are processing at the same time, they both attempt to update the same row in the table. Suppose two transactions, two times, like two people sends money to your account. It is not like that it will happen simultaneously. One account, one transaction should complete, the transaction details should be updated, then the other transaction will initiate. So that means isolations to a particular transaction. If multiple transactions are taking place, you should not be overlap with each other, or else your money will be like, you won't get the complete, calculation of your money. Now, what is durability? Durability means, suppose in case of power failure, okay, or network disconnectivity, the changes made by the transaction should be permanent. It should not be affected or lost due to system failure. So even if there is a network issue or system failure or power disruption, still the transaction should be completed in a correct way. That means correct amount should be updated in one account and second account. So these things we are talking about, these things are happening where? Inside a database, guys. Right? So all your money transaction and everything that we are looking, this is getting stored in the databases. So how this algorithm works? Select the account to check if the account has non-zero balance. If you are going to send money 100 rupees, you have to have 100 rupees in your account, right? So check, then update the account. After deducting, set the, so this is not a query, guys. This is just the algorithm. The step
So
by step.
Ashish, can I interrupt you here for a second? Say for example, if I'm doing a payment transfer, I will get the OTP, right?
Okay.
So where is that OTP fitting in this scenario?
So OTP is kind of an authentication process, right? So this is
correct, Ashish. If I put the OTP only, then only this transaction will complete.
Correct. So this is prior to these steps, a authentication layer, you can say. Prior to consider these steps, atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability, that is the initial layer above it, that is called authentication. If authentication successful, then money will started deducting or.
So Ashish, you said like if this is an end-to-end scenario, the OTP is also a part of that scenario, right? Like, say, for example, the whole thing is like transferring money from point A to point B. So
Right.
OTP is also the bridge between point A to point B.
OTP is not the bridge. OTP is the authentication layer. If that will fail, then this bridge will not able to create it. So you are not able to create this bridge if OTP is failed, or if you put a wrong OTP. So that is a security layer, you can say. After the security layer, we are talking about these transactions. Are you getting what I'm saying?
No, completely no.
So what is your understanding? Can you explain?
No, as I say, for example, if here we are saying we have to, for any transaction, we have to take care of this 4 parameters, AC and ID, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
ACID transactions.
Yeah. So on this validation, where I will fit in these 4 parameters, under which parameter it will come? That is my correct question.
It is not to answer your question. This is not going to fit in any parameter here. This is top of this 4 parameter, the authentication layer. Because if you see atomicity, what does that mean? That either the transaction should completed, not completed at all. So once authentication is done, then you go for transaction, right?
Right.
Then you think about transaction is completed or not. But in the authentication itself, when you put a wrong OTP, the transaction will be cancelled. You are not going to consider atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability.
Okay.
So this is actually this things is like there is something called when you log into username and password, there is a concept called SSO. Have you heard about SSO?
Yeah, single sign-on.
Yeah. So what is SSO? Does this SSO have any relationship with username and password?
Yeah, of course.
So where this SSO lies, whether after username password at the top layer or the
that SSO is the first step. SSO is the first step.
Exactly. So like this, the OTP. So once this layer satisfied, you provided the correct OTP, then you go inside this transaction. That's what I meant.
Oh, okay.
I hope I hope you agree with me. But yeah, a good discussion. If you have other understanding which you think, you can share. Thanks for this. Okay. So where are we? So durability. So I think this is a bit clear to you now. What are the theoretical parts, right? So before going to the next, I will show you what is that SQL, right? SQL with Python. Okay, now we'll come to this implementation, this whole thing that we learned so many things. Let's try to implement this with Python. Now, before going to this, I just wanted to show you different types of databases that you are going to encounter in your career. Different types, so many types out there. Even if I'm not sure about all the 3 types, because I mostly work with MySQL and SQL Server in my previous organization. Now, as you have different types of databases and you want to implement Python with this different type of databases. So guys, are you understanding what is MySQL, SQL Server, Postgres, right? This you are understanding, right? Anyone who will still wondering what these terms are? MySQL, SQL Server. So these are types of
the difference between MySQL and SQL.
Okay. See, you need not to worry to ask this type of questions. May sound silly, but this is important. So MySQL versus what you said? SQL Server.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. So MySQL versus SQL Server. SQL is a query programming language for managing RDBMS. In contrast, MySQL is an RDBMS that employs SQL. So the major difference between two is that MySQL is a software, but SQL is the database. No, this is not. So they said, have you got what is the difference they mentioned here? SQL versus MySQL. This is a language. We're not looking for this. MySQL versus SQL Server. Huh. So this is two types of what? Databases. MySQL and SQL Server is a two types of databases. Okay, you can see here. What can be a good point here? I'm not sure this one. MySQL, SQL Server tables. Let's not go to this one.
This is MySQL is an application, and then SQL is that language which we are using, right?
No. This is very confused. We are not talking about SQL. It's a SQL Server.
SQL Server. Okay, it is also a kind of database.
Database.
Right?
So kind of different kind of databases. So if you know what is SQL Server, so better to go like this. So what is SQL Server used for? I always try to get a proper answer to the question that is arising on mind. Microsoft SQL Server is a relational database management system at a database server that stores and retrieves data. So the thing is, these are databases, different types of databases. It is used to store what? Tables, rows, columns. Now SQL Server is Microsoft created. And what is MySQL? Created by whom? Anyone knows?
Can you please repeat your question?
So SQL Server is a database created by Microsoft. Like, who is the creator of MySQL?
No idea.
MySQL is an open source relational database. It's a name combination of mine, the name of co-founder of Michael. So there is some history associated with MySQL, it seems. And I think the developer who developed this database is from Oracle. Okay, and it can be used inside Linux, Mac, Windows, this kind of. So thing is, these are different types
so
of
SQL is kind of a sorry to interrupt you. Like SQL is kind of a reserved database by Microsoft, like Word, Excel, MS Word, MS Excel.
Right,
That it was a
SQL
reserved
Server.
one, but
SQL
so
Server.
the MySQL is a open source software like Python.
Right. Correct.
So
So
it can be
different
deployed
kind
on
of
multiple devices, correct, Ashish?
right. So the thing is, to start working with a database, you have to install of this, like either from Microsoft, you have to install Microsoft say SQL Server in your system, or you need to install MySQL inside your system. As we installed Anaconda to use Python, right? Similar.
We can install MySQL Workbench, right?
Correct. We can install. Yeah. But these things we are not going to do because this is task specific. Rather than what we are going to do, we're not going to install anything, because in MongoDB we'll install the whole MongoDB database in our system. But here SQL, let's not install any DB here. Instead of that, Python is going to help us. What? The Python has some inbuilt databases.
And Ashish, like sorry to cut you off. Like, what is that Oracle then? Like, Oracle is a different like Microsoft, or that is also
Oracle is also a company who provides database management system.
Okay, so they'll provide the servers, they'll provide the data, they'll provide the servers to store and create the databases, and we can perform. Right. So to know about Oracle Corporation is an American multinational computer technology corporation. And I think there are so many things Oracle is doing, not only databases. Database is one of the things. Okay.
They have multiple products, Ashish.
Multiple products. Correct. So the point is here, to started using any of the database, you have to first install in your system. That is the point here. But we are not going to do that because in Python, there is an inbuilt database like this SQL Server, MySQL, Postgre. In Python, there is an inbuilt DB. When you install Anaconda, it is already installed in your system. That is called SQLite. It is a lighter version of any databases. SQLite, like your MySQL, SQL Server. So that's why this Python is getting popular, because you have the database access also. You can store the data in the databases. And even if you can transfer the whole database as a file to another system or to your colleague, we'll see how this happens. But we'll implement this. We'll learn all these things that we have in the session courses, like select, insert, okay, update, delete, what is the Windows function, type of data, conditional structure. So this we'll see, but with SQLite. Because if you're not going to use SQLite, either you have to install one of them, MySQL or SQL Server in your system, and you have to have this information. So this is an example. Sorry, this is an example code, a demo code, how you are going to connect if you are installing any DB apart from SQLite. Like suppose a SQL Server you are going to install. After installing, you have to have the driver details, server details where the database is hosted, database name that you want to create or connect, username and password. After getting all this basic information, you will be connect to the database through Python. And for specific databases, we have specific libraries in Python. Now this is a ODBC driver database. So for this, you have to import this library. Now what this library is doing, this library is helping you to create a API. You recollect the figure I draw from the IDE to the database. That API through which you are going to interact with the database is going to be happen through this import the module. Okay, suppose we are going to use SQLite, then you have to import SQLite. The nature of the database, according to that, we have to select the appropriate module if you are going to implement the Python. Now, once you import this, by using this library, you have to call the connect method. And in the connect method, you have to pass all this information. Then only after executing these two lines, you have a successful connection to the database through Python. Now to do this, again, I have to install one software, then driver, server, create DB, create username, password. So let's not do all these things. Okay. Anyhow, you are going to do this once you have, because this is what you don't need, right now. The thing is how to query the details from the databases. That is our aim here. Now, once this connection is done, then the query that I have shown to you, select this table and this table, you can pass this table directly inside some function or method called what? Execute. Can you see here? So in this bracket, what we saw, the joining statement, the whole statement you are going to pass here. So that means what? Python is helping us to write this query inside the database. So from this ID, I am going to access what? My database, or I'll read. So once you do this, again, the same concept, variable, object, everything you need to create, you will get familiar syntaxes of Python, and you can fetch the result. You store in a list, you store in a dictionary, okay, you store in a tuple. Then I think we know the basic operation once you have the data. Okay, now let's try to understand why we are using SQLite. There are some advantages here. It is simple to set up and use. That means we don't need driver, server details, username, password. We don't need all these things. It is coming inbuilt inside Python. And it is very lightweight. Like the database size is very large in usual scenario, but that's why it is called light, SQLite. Very lightweight, easy to configure, and very little disk space it is going to take in your system. And when you are a resource constrained environment, what does that mean? that you have some limited, you can't use more than this much disk space or this much RAM you can't use, you have limited resource constraint, then this SQLite is very helpful. And that's why it is a famous in your, developers. Among DS community, this is very famous because you need not to take in the headache of setting up the additional database. And more of all, it is the same command, SQL command, structured query language, select this column from this table, this column from this table, join this table on ID, this equal to this, same kind of syntax you have to use here also, no other syntax. And this is ACID compliant. We saw, right? So SQLite is the ACID compliant, which suppose the transaction and ensures the integrity and consistency of the data. And cross-platform, what does that mean? If you are using Mac also, you can use this. If you are using Windows also, you can use this. If you are using Linux also, you can use this. Cross-platform support. One developer is working on Mac, one developer is working on Linux. You can pass the information from this system to this system. Not a problem. Okay, so that's why this is a convenient and reliable choice among developers to use SQLite. Okay, now that's why in this whole session, what is DML and DQL? DML means data manipulation language. What do we mean by data manipulation? That means we are going to manipulate with the data. We are going to insert something, we are going to update something, we are going to delete something. This is manipulation, data manipulation. So when you perform this kind of task like inserting, updating, and deleting, that means you are manipulating with data. That is DML. And when you say DQL, that stands for what? Data query language. Now here you are not going to modify or manipulate the data. Here you just need to read the data. Suppose you have 100 of tables. From the 100 of tables, get me all these details. Now that is the task. There you have to write a query to join 50 tables and get the required results. So you are querying inside the DBs or inside the tables to get the data. That's why it is called what? DQL. Data query language. Now we are going to see all these things, okay? We are going to see all these things.
Ashish, can you please repeat this DML and DQL again?
Okay, okay. So DML stands for data manipulation. So when we say manipulation, what do we mean? It means that we are going to insert something, we are going to delete something, we are going to update something, isn't it? We are going to manipulate with the data. That means basically editing of the data in terms of inserting, updating, and deleting. That means you are doing some addition, like editing the data, you are doing some editing. That means you are changing the data.
Yeah, manipulation means like inserting, updating that. Okay, that's fine then.
Yeah, that means you are changing the data. This is also, as a DS people, most of the cases, you won't be having this access to change the data. Either this access to be a lead developer, lead DB developer, or with a DB administrator.
Okay.
Because I told you the process.
So
right?
this DML comes.
Yeah. So DML.
Yeah.
So
if we drop the table, then we'll be in a tragedy, right?
Correct. So very, very risky, guys. Like I have also done like in my 6 years of by mistakenly something happened, it will be like very hectic. You deleted something. So we have some restoration program also when you're running this much big business. So that if by chance you deleted something, you should be able to retrieve these details. Or else you are like, okay, so clients will going to fire you.
We'll be in jeopardy then.
Yeah. So start finding new jobs. If you do that, start finding new jobs. Okay, so that is what DML. So DML, when you perform DML actions, you need to be very careful. If it is a production system, that's why in the large companies you practice the code. If you are performing DML in a testing environment or in a lower environment, which is not production. Once this is clearly satisfied or correct inside a lower environment or a pre-production environment, then you implement this in a production environment. That is how it follows in a traditional IT industry. Okay, every editing or any changing records you are going to do it in a lower environment, not in a production environment. That's again an IT concept. Okay, so many things are there. Okay, it reminds me some of my few old days. Okay, so DML, now clear DML, what means DML? Now,
totally.
yes, so data scientist, as a data scientist, we may not be having, unless you are going for a small startup, there we'll have all the access. If you are joining a general or large company, there this DML as a data scientist, I don't think you will be having access.
I've seen people's in my organization also.
Yeah. So when you see people like they have only DQL access.
Like they have the DML access, like accidentally, not accidentally. Like I didn't know that that was an important file. I'll just delete that from the client server.
Oh,
So
God.
like that things that happen, like there is a lot of escalation mails, and
Yeah.
throughout the day I was literally
Right.
I
So this
don't
is,
know
you
how
need
to
to be
explain.
very careful if you don't want to get any escalations. So
Yeah.
So this DML will be very vital. So
Yeah.
especially if you are deleting and updating something, okay, inserting, that is fine. You by mistake inserted any detail, that is fine. But when you are updating something and deleting something, you need to be very careful, because sometimes what happens. So that's why, guys. So this normalization concept is very important, because if the primary key is not unique, okay, suppose I am deleting a name from my database where name is Assis. Now in your organization, name Assis, like thousands or hundreds of people are there. If you say delete where name equal to Assis, that means there is a chance you can delete all the people
All the
named
files,
as. So that's why this unique identifier comes into picture. Delete through the unique identifier, because every row has some unique identifier called primary key. So if you delete using primary key, then the chances of deleting unnecessary data or updating unnecessary data will be reduced.
Okay.
We'll see when we'll perform this DML. I think today we won't be do that because it's already 11. But yeah. So, but mostly you are going to spend time on DQL, that is data query language. How to retrieve the details, like read-only access. So this is kind of a read-only access. Okay, this is kind of a read and write both. You can say in a way. Right?
It's much clear. Yeah.
Now, I don't want you guys to. Okay, you can try also in Google Colab or this. Just through 2 lines, then we'll wind up at 11. SAP 11. I'm not going to move next. Okay, so just these two queries to understand what we are doing. First of all, we are going to use SQLite. That is, you understood. Now, how to use SQLite? You have to import SQLite library first. Okay, once you import SQLite library, and what you need to do, you have to connect. Okay, connect to the server. Now, once you import this library, you have to call a method from this library called connect. Now this is the connection string. Okay, this is going to use as a connection from where to where? From SQLite to your ID. Now when I run this, I'll show you. See, here no file is there. If after successfully running this cell, if I'll refresh this, you can see the DB is got created now. Now this is my DB file, database file. Now the good thing about it, like you use this DB, you store some detail, you modify some detail. Now you can share this detail with your colleagues as well by downloading this database file. Same as CSV file and Excel file. You can send this to your colleague or the developers that you are working with the database file, and they can started using the same database also with the same details inside it and all. So easy to move also, like a file. Okay, you can place this file in your Google Drive link, and you can share that link or that path to the developer. The developer can directly access from there, and whatever tables and columns you have created inside this database, the developer also can see those columns and tables. And this is also one advantage. And what is the query here? I am creating the connection. If this database doesn't exist, it will create a new one. If this is already exist, then it will connect to that database. That is the concept here. If it is not there, it is going to be created. If it is there, then it will connect to the database. So whenever we disconnect from this server, that means we disconnected from the database. So whenever we are starting a new day, every time you have to establish this connection first. And after establishing this connection, you are storing this in a variable called connection. It is same your Python coding understanding. Now, once you have this object, you can call different methods of the object.
That is user defined, right? That is not predefined like CONN.
No, this is a variable name that we are
okay,
giving.
okay.
So it automatically generates the new file. We do not want to give any other commands if the file does not exist there.
If the file doesn't exist, whatever name you have given, but you have to make sure you have given this extension .db. If it doesn't exist, then it will create one for you. But if it is already there, then it will connect to that DB. Now I have multiple DBs, right? Like one DB will contain my library information. One database will contain my e-commerce website information. Now,
so this dot connect is used to create or connect?
Connect. But if not exist, it will create.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so suppose there is already a database named like SampleDB. In this case, it is connecting to that database. So first it will check whether it is exist or not. If it doesn't exist, it will create and connect. If it is already exist, then it will only connect. Okay, so this is you try to run this code. I'm not going more into this. Tomorrow we'll see. Okay, we have all this functionality and all these codes. We'll go one by one. Okay, we'll see joining operation. We'll perform some joins also using this. We'll see. Fine.
Yeah, Ashish. And so, Ashish, like you want to say something, then say. Like it's an Q&A. I'll just ask it somewhere.
No. Like I'm not going to cover any new topics. I know people started going to work. Please, those who wants to leave, they can leave. Now we can ask questions.
Yeah. Sir, I want to ask, is there anyone who attended the assessment tree? I just want to have a gist on that. Whether how the patients are, because the assessment tree topics I have gone through in Kolkata sessions, it is a bit difficult to understand, like infix to postfix. So if anyone have attended the assessment, can I know the experience?
Yeah, guys.
Of module 3.
Module 3.
Yeah, it's all about yeah.
Okay.
So anyone attended that assessment session?
I'm yet to take that. No, I'm yet to take that.
Like, what about assessment 1 and 2, guys? Have you guys taken it? Because like still haven't touched it.
Yes,
we have to take that. Like even if it is not completed, we don't have to take that assessment. Once that portion has been completed, we have to take in that particular weekend. I mean, in Saturday, Sunday. That's
okay.
That's the info I got. Sorry. That's the info I got from the mentor, not from others, like our
okay.
other mentor,
the coordinator, yeah.
Yeah, coordinator.
What my question is, like, how that assessment went and all those, like they were giving some questions.
It's a MCQ basically. It's up to 40 questions, I guess.
Okay.
First, if you're asking about the first 2 modules, it's totally 40 questions.
It's MCQ.
No, sorry, the second module is not like that. Second module is full of programming. 5 or 6 programs were there. First module only, it was like 40 questions.
I think it was like first and second module together, MCQ, and the third module was programming, like that, right? Like that it was.
Okay, fine. So yeah, let's jump into it then.
Start doing, guys. Okay, start doing because
Ashish, like
yeah.
So that Microsoft SQL and Oracle SQL, this SQLite, and also that Portuguese or Porsche, like I'm saying the car name, I think. I'm sorry.
Postgre.
Yeah, Postgre. Yeah.
Okay.
Postgre. I'm saying Porsche. Sorry. So the Postgre and all those, these all are the different databases, like where we can do the data, like create the databases and all those, right?
Okay, correct.
It's not that this is all having a different kind of methodologies. Like it all has a same syntax and all this, but it maybe some keywords and methods will change for each and
correct. Yeah,
every
yeah,
model.
slightly variant, but once you know
Like
one
iOS and
language,
Android,
Okay.
yeah.
So
once you,
like using the data frames, we can able to create like what do we call that? Like because in the data frames also we were doing the same thing, right? Like we were creating a
correct.
tables and we were working on it. So like you said that in a data frame the databases will be there, right? So in a database also the same thing was there, and in the data frame also the same thing was there.
Okay, so okay, a very nice conceptual question here. So data frame and database, like when you are going for storing the data for certain period of time, there you use databases. Can we use data frame for that? If I want to store for 1 month, unless I ran the code, think about it.
I don't get you.
So if I suppose I created a database, I disconnected from the Jupyter notebook now, and after 1 week I will come. Can I retrieve the same data frame? Without
No,
running,
actually we have to
haven't
run it
saved it,
against
right?
us the thing.
right. So we have to run the code again to get the data frame.
Yeah,
is kind of what? It's, you can consider a table.
Okay.
It is for just temporary temporary
table.
stand. Yeah.
Correct.
And after creating the data frame, you have to transfer it to DBS.
Right. So once you started storing the data into somewhere, where after 1 month also you will come and you can see the data. That scenario.
Okay, so
There
data frame is a temporary stuff you're saying.
Yes, temporary. You can say visualizing a temporary table that you are creating to showcase your data, not storing your data.
Because one day I've asked you, right? Like I think on when we were beginning to the data frame, I have asked you, like you said that okay, data frame is a structure which will contains a number of databases, like that you said, right?
No, I think
Okay,
n number of data.
Sorry, sir. Actually, Dinesh, if you have done that and collab, no, if you just shut down the computer and start doing it again, you will not find the data same data. You have to again upload it and then do it. So that's the purpose why we are using database. Yes,
okay,
sir?
so database is a temporary storage and data frame is kind of
no, data frame is
sorry. Yeah. Okay. Data frame is a temporary and database is a permanent storage.
Correct. Yes. Right.
These two will have a similar, what do we call that? Similarities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we are data scientists, right? So data is by default with us. So either it is temporary or permanent, data is going to be with us forever.
Sure.
Yeah,
so I'm using IntelliJ for Python, and then MySQL Workbench. Is that can I connect to that? Can I connect that Microsoft SQL Workbench to the IntelliJ? Like all the Udemy videos and YouTube videos, they are using SQLite 3.
Right. So you can do that. But I don't have the code right now. But yeah, if you explore or do a research, no, you will get it. There's a way to connect.
Sure.
Yeah, Nivedita.
Yeah,
right?
Nivedita, sir. Sir, can I have any idea how to practice in for assessment for that stack module 3? Totally in module 3, I find it very difficult.
So can you share or show me the screen? So share your screen to show me the assessment once, because to be honest with you,
no assessment cannot be shown. No, once it is attended, it cannot
module
be
3 we have completed, right?
No, for completing it's just I'm preparing for module 3 assessment. I just want to know how if anyone has attended, how they have prepared. I just want to know the idea.
Excuse me, sir. The thing is, in module 3, we're covering the LIFO, FIFO, first in, first out, and last in, first out, and stack count, everything we have covered. Just the way what is first in, first out, and what is last in, first out, like the way you have teachers, that is we have cleared. But in the code kata session, while practicing the code kata, it is different. That prefix suffix method is there. That stack we are popping the element in the stack, we are popping the operand in the stack, we are storing in a different element. How this process, actually we are trying to learn from the AI, but it's not very clear. We are confusing. Yes,
So
that's what
can
she
you
tried
see
to tell.
the screen? Can you see the screen? This is from stack.
Okay.
This is an example. So like this, we are facing the questions.
You are provided with a string S. Your task is to reverse the string using stack data structure.
Yeah. Anyhow,
So,
yeah, I managed to get the code, but the inside the codes concepts are not clear.
So
I didn't understand.
to do this, have you understand the stack data structure? What is the stack data structure?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Last in,
yes,
first
sir.
out. Yes.
First in, first out. So
Okay.
what we do in first out, first of all, we need a container, kind of a bucket, right? So you can think like this, you have to create a bucket first, empty bucket first. Go with the logic that we saw. Create a bucket or create an empty list, right? And there you are going to do what? You are going to append the characters one by one. So what is the stack concept? First in, last out, right? That is the concept. Yeah. So once you created the empty list, you start putting the characters into the list. One top now, if you want to access the list or any element or character from the list, which method you are going to use? From the list properties, if you want to access the recent letter, that means what? The last character. You can access through indexing -1, or you can use pop method, right? So you have all this knowledge, guys. Okay, so what is your job here? You have to reverse the string. Now if I save the string in a list, character wise character, and I started accessing from the back, is that where I'll get the string as reversed? Now I have provided you the stack code in the IPython notebook, right?
Yes,
stack code, right? So you have to write a code like that and start. So when I give you this input, define a function. When I give this input, your output should be like this, sample output, using the stack algorithm that I have provided in the notebook. Now this is the task, guys. Please don't think like you are not understanding it. Consider this as, again, the opportunity to learn, because this is not over yet. What you learned, understand the logic, try to implement with this, define a function, the same logic what we implemented in the stack, create a list, start appending, access the list from the behind, and return the required output. So this is part of your learning, guys. This is not that it's like you didn't understand. So what you didn't understand, spend time on this. So these are also another questions, right? Give an array for each element position.
Yeah, the main problem is like understanding this question will be the very much problem. Like I haven't, looked at about the stack and all this. Even in the basic stuffs also, for understanding the question itself, I've started to Googling, it seems. Like when I'm studying this code kata, I'm assuming that I'm the dumbest person in the world.
No. Please don't think like that. Please, guys, it's a request to you. Please don't think like you don't know. Okay. Now, whatever you have been taught, you know so many things. Okay. The thing is, okay, guys, again, some, lecture or gyan kind of thing. Consistency and patience. That is the key here.
Okay.
You are learning data science. Consistency and patience. How quickly you are giving up. Please don't give up. Please don't think like, okay, this is not, I won't be able to do it.
Okay. Like
So,
it doesn't mean that I'm giving up. Like I'm trying, but still, like, yeah.
Keep trying, because one day you will understand these are very simple things to do. Lots of complex things are out there. And to be honest with you, I also felt the same way in started, because why Codekata platform you need to spend time, because if you go for any interview, there is a technical round. And most of the companies are following this approach. They will give a question exactly like same and a code editor to you. Inside the code editor, you have to write the code. This is how the technical interview will be done. Now, today it is being, bitter kind of thing for you, but tomorrow, once you're giving interview, this is very familiar and very sweet for you. First thing I would just want to tell you, try to understand the sample input and sample output before you go into the description. Because by looking into this input and output, you will get the idea. What my input is, if I define a function, this should be my input, and in the output, I have to find this. Now, after understanding this, go to the description. If you start reading the description, then this is going to be hectic, okay? And you will feel like you are not understanding. So this type of question, the key is understand the input and output first.
Sure. Yeah.
Like input is a string, output is the reverse of string. Now you have a picture, okay, what I can do? I need to access the string from the back.
Okay.
It's -1, minus, like that, any logic.
So if anyone has attended did they got the result of the attended assessments?
I don't think anyone here already have, like more than half of people already left. So not
Yeah,
sure.
like for
we have
assessment
to,
and
yeah,
go on.
when I checked, we have to send a mail to them, to DS mentors.
Right.
To get the results?
Yeah, correct. To get the result.
Yeah,
That's what
also we can get in touch with coordinators, I think. Yeah, for for the main boot itself, I've get in touch with the coordinator. They have helped.
Yeah, and you have
me
some
with
doubt clearing session also, right?
results of
Every Friday, Saturday, something like that.
not on Friday. Like Friday, the past Friday we were free. Like we haven't had any sessions. Like the programming enhancement and code kata sessions were there. So if we want to, then we can register and then we can go. Like on Saturday and Sunday, I've attended it because due to Friday, on that Friday only I did this super thing, like deleted the file and then like the whole day.
So it is there in Friday, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days.
Yeah,
you
Friday,
have,
Saturday, and Sunday. But I have attended on Saturday and Sunday. Like there is not much people were attending. Like 6 to 7 people were only in there. Like we can get to know a lot of stuffs. Like they were giving us, like they were giving us a tasks. They were asking us to program it right over there. If there is any doubts, they were saying that like if I'm doing the programming in one way, they were saying that why you are doing it, do this in way, do this thing in this way, and then give me output. Like why you are doing this? Like I need that in that. Like I need this input in this way. In this input, you have to give that input, like that they were asking questions. It seems pretty interesting.
Yeah. So what I'm getting from you guys, so Nivedita or Divya, like whatever you are saying, guys, I got your query here. So what you need to do is to get in touch with one of the technical team who is, you just need to inform them that you need some assistance or you need some help to understand or do these problems.
Yeah.
And they have some dedicated technical team who can guide and help you to understand this. Because what the problem I'm observing here, you have to first understand your problem, then you start writing the code. Okay, but these sessions, like we have assigned topics, right? So those topics need to be covered first. So that's why I can't sit with you and do this. But
yeah, like in Zen class, there is a query section. Like if we were raising a query, the people were coming and connecting through the meet, as I already said, and then they were making us understand what is the question, and then they were helping us to write a code. Like if we were writing, they were correcting. Like they were not actually helping, like you need to put for like that. They were asking a questions. Yeah, like they were asking questions, and then you can also speak in Tamil, Hindi, and English. So like I'm speaking with a guy in Tamil, as I already told, and if I'm having any doubts nowadays, like I'm just making a phone call to him, and then I'm giving the query number. He was getting connected to me, and then he was clearing the doubts. If he can't able to clear it, he was giving the phone to somebody, and they were clearing.
Yeah, that's fine. That is a wonderful thing. So I think, hope you know what to do, right?
Yeah.
You just need to get the right connection.
Yeah.
And they will guide you. So how
in
to
Zen
do
class,
that?
like
we
have to raise a query.
Can you show them?
Yeah.
Is it possible to show them where to
do?
Divya,
sure. Is this Divya screen? Yeah. Divya, can you please go to Zen class? And also, Ashish, thank you for making me understand about like what is the DBA guy. Like because on Friday I was literally frying him like for one file you are taking this much time like that.
Happens.
Yeah.
Happens
Go to
in
this.
corporate life.
So is this again
website.
is this again Nova? I'm taking nearly around 1 hour to solve one program.
Yes, initially it will take
Okay,
1
so
hour.
go this site.
But eventually
in here queries. Yeah, create a query. You need to log in. I thought that was a useless file, but then only I come to know that there was like, that file is the main file, like it consisting all the credentials for the databases and all those. Like I was literally fried on the day, Friday. Like you need to click on create query. I think it was already assigned. Yeah. So in here it was assigned to someone like Surya Prakash. So he'll text you, or else like just get into that query, like click on that query, start program, click on that. Yeah, go to query, whatever. Yeah, so it's he was texting you, right? So you need to text him in here. He'll give you the Google Meet link, and then you can talk to him. I think Surya will speak in Tamil. So yeah, this is the guy who's helping me.
How you know this is Surya?
Yeah, it is assigned to Surya Prakashan. There
right
is a
side.
Surya Prakash,
got
Mohammed
it.
Hassan, Mohammed Hassan, and there is 4 or 5 more people were there, internal coordinators, and they were helping
Right,
us.
guys. So do like this. Do like this, and they will help you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Actually, what the thing is, we are I have completed in 2014, and we are just housewife, and now I'm trying to come in this field. So I find it very difficult to solve even a single problem, not program. Same
So
thing is with
that's
Divya
why
also.
it is difficult. That's why you are doing it, and once you will do it, you are going to enjoy. So no worries. Like you can now these days you can sit anywhere, whether you are housewife, working, non-working, you can earn money through this. So
yes, sir.
The suggestion is stick to it. As I said, consistency. I used to sit for 7 to 8 hours when I started this for 5 to 6 months. You are not going to believe this, but I was so focused on this 7 to 8 hours along with my corporate working hour. Okay. So consistency and patience, 2 things, guys.
Okay, so thank you.
Yeah, Ashish.
Okay, then have a nice day.
Yeah.
Have a nice day, guys.
Thank you,
Okay.
Ashish.
Right, thank you.
Have a nice day, guys.
Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.